You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. He looked good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. And after thinking about it all week, yes, we've taken the show on the road. We're here at the Rock Island Fieldhouse, a huge night of high school basketball tonight around the entire Quad City area. None bigger, though, than here at Rock Island, as Rock Island will take on their arch rival, Moline, in a huge Western Big Six showdown. So we figured, let's take the show on the road like we did in football season. So the Rock Garden right behind us, of course, behind us as well, some state championship trophies and some retired jerseys and all that as well. And joining me now, the athletic director here at Rock Island High School, Mike Amendorfer. Thank you first for letting me bring this mess into your life this morning, like you had nothing else to do.
No, I appreciate all the great things you do for the Quad City sports and athletic teams, and we're just privileged and appreciate the opportunity to talk more about Rock Island athletics.
I appreciate you saying that. It is a fun night here, and we'll talk maybe a little more later in the show. Mark Polite will be on to talk about basketball and all those kind of things. Also later in the show, Tom Kakert will be here to talk about the CyHawk game from last night. Bill Horrell will stop by to talk about Jim Albracht. Remember Jim Albracht a little more as well, but we'll focus on what's a day like this like for you when you have, and I want to say a day and a night as well, because there's going to be a couple thousand people or more in that gym tonight. How busy does this make a day for you?
It reminds me back of my coaching days, waking up in the morning, especially with a rivalry game of Moline, going in my fourth year. My first year, I didn't really understand it, the rivalry. The second year, I started learning. Obviously, in my third and fourth year, I have appreciated and understood the intensity that anytime you play Moline, and bowling to basketball to football, any activity, it means something to the community, and both Moline and Rock Island the community show out and support their teams. And so it's an exciting night for us to be hosting this game tonight.
Absolutely. It's been a great start for both schools, both perfect in Western Big Six play. It's been a great start for the Rocky basketball team. We'll talk more X's and O's with Coach in a little bit, but this program has been so decorated. And to have a team like this, what have you seen from the outside looking in? I know you're a football coach, but it's been fun to watch this team, especially early in the season.
No, I always chuckle with Coach Plight and Coach Henry Hall, basketball coaches, and my background in football, but I do dabble in the basketball and sort of joke around with some X and O's with them. But we have two great coaches, and Coach Plight and Coach Hall, who does our girls basketball, and Coach Plight, our boys basketball team, and they do a remarkable job. And they focus on the right things, focusing on the person first, but we also have a very talented team in the boys basketball team as well as the girls basketball team. And so we're excited to see them continue their success. They've had a great start of the year, but this will be a big test for our boys basketball team tonight.
You look at this program, and it's decorated as all decorated can be. We're sitting in front of some state championship trophies that are hard to come by in the state of Illinois. It's 125 years of this program. Kind of talk about wanting to celebrate that as much as possible. Same thing with the football program as well. But you look at this program over 125 years, man, it speaks for itself on what it's been able to do.
When I had the opportunity to interview and decide if I wanted to take on this challenge, being the athletic director at Rock Island, one of the things that sold me was the tradition. Seeing all the state qualifiers and state champions in basketball to wrestling, all the different sports, that excited me to be a part of that tradition and hopefully build on it. I know our soccer team went to the state this past year, and we've had some great success. And I really, not to put pressure on Coach Polite, but we're sort of hoping for another special year from our boys basketball team as well as our girls team as well. You
look at the past, and I think it's cool that, and he did it with football as well, celebrating some of the past. Pete Michael was here last Friday night, and I grew up watching him and what he did. To be able to spotlight what this program has been like, and then marry it to the future, because it's not a remember the good old days, because it's still good, if that makes any sense. So kind of marrying the past with the present as well.
Yeah, Dave Sieben, who is sort of like the alumni director for Rock Island, has taken on a big challenge, and he and I are always communicating how we can bring alumni back, and he does a great job with that. I work with him on that, but having Pete back last weekend along with some others, I think we're expecting 20 other former alumni that have been part of our boys basketball team and our rich history over 125 years are going to be here tonight as well. So I think it's always special when you can bring alumni back, and for some of our alumni, it's the first time they came back in the building since they graduated 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years ago, and they could see some of the upgrades and changes, but it also is nice for our current athletes to see those alumni come back and root them on.
Absolutely. Mike Amendorfer joining me right now on Off Day with Matt Randazzo. It's also kind of about educating the present when it comes to the young kids, because, yes, they grew up watching. It was funny, I had Devin Marshall on the show last week after his 53-point performance, and he looked up to Amarian Nimmers, and I was like, man, Amarian was just a little bit ago, but that's who he was growing up. But you go back to the Tyler Halls and the Chasen Randalls and the Pete Michaels. Is it kind of about letting these kids know, yes, the recent past is one thing, but this thing goes back a long time, kind of educating some of the young players in the program about what the standard has been set before in the past?
I think it's always great for our current student athletes to appreciate the past, and also to know that they're building their own legacy, but to appreciate all the former athletes that have played before them and their achievements, and also take some wisdom from them. I think a lot of times coaches are instructing them to appreciate the opportunities as will fly by, but it's always nice when alumni come back, and I know Pete and many of our alumni will continue coming back, talking to our student athletes, our boys basketball team. But it's a neat thing to have the tradition that we have, as well as the love for Rock Island High School and our athletic department. So for so many of our alumni to come back during our football season, our basketball season, or whatever season we're having, to celebrate the current team.
Can you take me through a Friday of basketball for you, besides having to deal with me and hop on this show for a little bit? Does it ramp up some with preparations in the field house, or is it kind of normal till the night when things get really busy?
Friday nights are always exciting. During the fall, I'm usually much more active down the stadium. So with the field house and the preparations, a lot of the work has been done. It's just making sure that we have safety protocols set up and ticket managers and all the things that you need to run a successful event, from having the announcers, score bookers, people that are needed to be able to run a successful event. And many of them are volunteering, and we're just trying to coordinate with them to make sure they're going to be here on Friday night to help us out. So that's a big part of my day. A lot of the work is done earlier in the week, so Friday is just making sure if there's anything we're missing, we fill in those gaps as quickly as possible, and sort of just wait till 7 o'clock tonight.
Before I let you go, you mentioned the Moline rivalry and respect for Moline, but also it's such a good rivalry. And you didn't grow up in the area. How quickly did you learn about or know about Moline, Rock Island, whether it's football, basketball, bowling? You mentioned it, whatever it is, these two schools have a rich tradition.
Well, my wife is from this area, so when we decided to move from Wisconsin down here to get closer to her family, she's a Rock Ridge graduate, but is well aware of Rock Island, Moline. So, and during my recruiting days, I came down here and I was aware of the tradition that both programs have. But you don't really know it until you step into the building and experience a Friday night football game, to a volleyball match, to a basketball game. And when you see those two teams competing and you see the community showing up, rooting on their teams, it does make you feel proud of being a part of high school athletics.
Before I let you go, too, one last one. We talked about them during their run. The soccer program was a ton of fun to watch, and sometimes, basketball, football, some of those sports get a lot of the spotlight. Can you talk about watching them and watching that soccer program? And they brought a lot of energy, excitement to the school, and they had a ton to be proud of.
Yeah, it is, and Zach Vroman has done a remarkable job in 3 years taking our program and the challenges of having 7 or 8 different languages spoke on the field and communicating, in the sportsmanship. I think both me and Coach Vroman are very proud of the officials and the fans that appreciate the way our players played during that great run going to the state. So we're very happy and very excited about our future in soccer. But we had a couple cross-country runners qualify. We had a swimmer qualify for the state. Our bowling teams are doing great. Our Special Olympics teams are doing exceptionally well. And so I'm a true athletic director. I want to make sure that I cover all the bases.
Absolutely.
But we're very proud of what we have accomplished in soccer. But I also think the best days are still in front of us. And we have a great coach with some great student athletes. So we're excited for next year and for the years to come for our boys soccer team.
I love it. You seem pretty comfortable doing this. I feel like I should just go and you can do this for the next couple hours.
I think I'm in the right role at the right time. And at some point when I decide to fully retire, I retired once from coaching. And after 2 weeks of sitting at the house, I realized that I had no hobbies. And when we knew we were going to move it down here, and it was just by chance that Rock Island needed an athletic director, and I thought, well, I'll throw my name in there, and here I am, and have enjoyed and learned a lot, and I'm still motivated and excited to continue to play a role in helping out our coaches and student athletes to make it a positive experience for everyone involved.
I love it. Mike, I appreciate you.
Thank you.
You're one of the
Matt.
best. We got more to get to here on the show. Coming up after the break, we're going to talk with Tom Kakert. We talked to him this morning. You'll hear about that CyHawk game last night. And then we'll be back to Rock Island and the Fieldhouse, and we'll talk much more. We got Bill Horrell coming up to talk about the legacy that is Jim Albracht. Then come up around 11 o'clock, Mark Polite will sneak out of class and join us as well. You're watching Off the Air live from Rock Island High School. We'll be back right after this. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak, with all those delicious toppings. The biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Yeah, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and ladder your Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss pre-arrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high, each a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities. We're taking a break from the field house because there was a really good college basketball game last night. The CyHawk week goes the way of the Cyclones, winning the women's game on Wednesday night, and Thursday night it was the men knocking off Iowa 66-62, the final score, in what was a closer game that meant a chance to win that one. Tom Kakert from the Hawkeye Report joining me right now. Fresh back, what stands out the most when it comes to a near upset for the Hawkeyes?
Think I need more sleep.
How is beautiful Interstate 80 in the snow at 1 o'clock in the morning?
Well, Interstate 80 had a block, had an accident at the 191 mile marker, so took Highway 30 back through Cedar Rapids and then down 380 and then home. So yeah, it was joyous.
Lovely.
Because living out in the sticks as you do and I do, that this time of year is late night deer running out in front of you. So
Yep.
you got to have your head in the swivel.
Man, that's an intense drive home, but you made it safely and all those kind of things as well. Basketball-wise, what'd you see last night that you liked? And then, obviously, a game that Iowa had an opportunity to sneak out of town with.
Interesting game, kind of first half Iowa makes that run, has that 10-0, 12-0 run where they push out in front. It was kind of the opposite of what happened at Michigan State, where it was kind of sloggy at first and teams kind of trading buckets, but not a lot of points. And then Iowa hit that spurt and Bennett Sturts hits a three and Iowa's up 30-17, and you're thinking, okay, this Iowa's playing really well, and it looked like Iowa State played so well at Purdue, and it was almost like the old regression to the mean, where they just couldn't buy a bucket, they weren't making shots, they just didn't seem in sync, and you thought, boy, maybe Iowa's got a chance to steal one. And then, of course, the second half, they just come out and they score the first 16, take the lead, build it to a double-figure lead at, I think, 47-37 at one point, three-pointer. And you thought maybe they could steal one. but it was a couple of loose balls. Heisey got one that was just kind of floating around on the ground, and Iowa had a shot at it, and it got away from them, and he ends up, calling a timeout, and they possess the ball, and then they get an offensive rebound, and Jefferson was really good last night. I mean, he is. We'll get Scott Weiss to have a drink right now because I'll mention Ken Palm in his Player of the Year rankings. Right behind Cameron Boozer for his national POY Player of the Year is Joshua Jefferson, and he showed why. I mean, he had, what did he have? 24 points, 5 rebounds. Drew, we're going to talk about the fouls in a minute. But I'll tell you what things in this game, they really battled. I thought it was progress from what we saw at Michigan State, where they kind of got it handed to them. Because that place, I've been to Hilton many times for this game, and it was on fire, and it was a wild atmosphere there. You got the new head football coach dropping F-bombs.
We'll talk about that
on mic. We'll talk about that. Violation of the what would KF do rule of living your life, and anyway, it was a really good, fun, intense college basketball game. So credit to Iowa State. I mean, they are a really good team. They're number 4 in the country, and Iowa had them on the ropes. They had them on the ropes, and 1 or 2 shots falls, and the outcome's different, and Iowa sneaks out of there with a win. So, to me, this was a real positive for Iowa. Now the Hawkeyes can feast up on 3 cupcakes before the start of Big Ten play again in early January.
You look at it, Tommy, and you expected Iowa State to make that run. You expected at a halftime them to come. You didn't want it to be 16-0 if you're Iowa, but you expected them to make a run. What I didn't expect, Tom, was Iowa to counter punch back, if that makes any sense. I think that says a lot about the program, about Ben McCullum, about these guys. Kind of talk to that a little bit, because I thought that 16-0 run, they got to double figures. I'm like, well, we'll talk about a good first half tomorrow, but that's about it. I thought the counter punch to get back in the game was really impressive by Iowa.
Yeah, they really battled back. They just kept coming and kept chipping away, and that's impressive that you can do that on the road in that environment, because the Cyclones will, once they sense that you're fading a bit, and I tell you, Ben tried everything to get him out of that 16-0 run. He called 2 timeouts, ended up costing him because he didn't have a timeout left to try to challenge that late loose ball that I think went off an Iowa State player, and the Iowa State ended up with the ball and they didn't review it. So I don't know why they didn't review it. That was do
you have to have a timeout to review it, or can the referees go under and review that?
I would think they should, and I think they.
I thought it was under like a minute to go, or under 2 minutes to go. They could go to the booth. They could go to the table and review it. I'm not sure though.
I can't understand why they wouldn't have gone to review it, because it was a key call and it wasn't clear. It was on the other end of the floor. So my view of it was, I had no view. because it was on the complete opposite end of the floor from where I was sitting.
It was funny because on TV, Tom, like you didn't get a lot of second looks at it and different angles because they didn't review it. So they just kept playing basketball. And you know what I mean? When you go to the review, you see this angle, that angle, the next angle. They called it Iowa State's ball. And of course, the Randazzo household, led by young Charlie, was like, review that. That's wrong. And of course, it was like, well, they can't review ball and bounds, and we played on. And so social media will tell you everything. There's angles that says that it's Iowa's basketball. There's Iowa State fans saying, look at this angle. I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be Iowa basketball, but it is what it is.
Yeah. It's interesting. Can we talk about the foul disparity the last 3 games?
Yes, please.
Okay. It's weird. And I am not one. I poke fun at our friend Don Umlin about being an official, but a lot of respect for officials. And I know it's a tough job. And you always get a little home cooking. So 2 of these 3 games have been on the road. It's just the nature of the sport. But and sometimes it is a function of how you play. Like, for example, a team that bombs away from 3 is less likely to get a lot of fouls, right? Because just of the nature of where you're shooting the basketball from. You're not shooting it from around the basket where there might be more contact, or you're not driving to the basket. You're settling for, you're shooting 35 threes a game. So you're just not going to get to line a lot. So I had to look it up. Iowa State game, both teams shot 15 3-pointers. Okay. Maryland game, both teams shot 18 3-pointers. Michigan State game, there was a disparity. Iowa shot 23. Michigan State only shot 12. So there was a disparity there in terms of 3-point field goals. Okay. Here's the foul shots the last 3 games. Michigan State was 22 of 25, Iowa 11 of 17. Not egregious. And you can even maybe say some of that was Iowa fouling a little bit more just because of the nature of the game that had gotten away a little bit. Maybe they were fouling just a little bit more, right? Maryland, last weekend. Maryland, 24 of 38. Even Buzz Williams said on his radio show that it was, I think he used the term egregious, but I'm not positive, but it was something to that effect.
Yeah.
It was egregious, unnecessary. Just he thought it was out of line. Iowa was 6 of 12 in that game. 6 of 12 from the foul line.
At home.
At home. At home. And then last night, Iowa State 17 of 23. Iowa 3 of 5.
That's crazy.
Iowa 3 of 5. And I'll say this because the 3 officials were Kip Kissinger, Doug Sermons, and Brooks Wells. And I know 2 of the 3 have worked for Final Four games. I'm pretty sure Kip and Doug have worked Final Four games. So it's not like they're bad officials. They're nationally recognized as good officials. I could probably pull up the Ken Palm officiating ratings, but I don't want to send Wheezy into on a Friday morning. So for having to Ken Palm things. But so I looked up the fouls, the number of fouls called. Michigan State, Iowa had 22 personal fouls called against them. Fouls drawn were 19. Maryland, Iowa had 27 fouls called against them. Fouls drawn by Iowa players, 16. Iowa State, personal fouls, 19 to 11. I'm sitting courtside. The Iowa State people, I love going to Hilton because they put us courtside. So we're down there, and the other end of the court you can't see it as well.
Sure.
But you know, Bennett Sturts may have been getting held a lot. Um, let's just say that. They're pretty physical with him. There's contact and with various players, and it went both ways. There's contact, but that whistle was going one direction all night. And I'm not saying that cost them the game. I'm just saying, based on those numbers, you should not have that sort of outcome from a foul perspective. It just does it doesn't work that way. Not at least, and I've been watching basketball.
Yeah. It's funny
But it
that
did last night.
it was funny that it was that close. I mean, it's a testament to Iowa that they ended up losing by 4. Was it a foul at the end?
I don't know.
I'm just curious.
It's-
A lot of times, a lot of places, that's not the most egregious foul in the world with 20 seconds left in a basketball game. But it was on this night, and Iowa couldn't quite get back over the hump and winning. Tom Caker from the Hawkeye Report joining us right now. Tommy, after the game, and you were there in the press conference, Ben McCollum, I think Iowa fans, you go to social media, and there's a lot of positivity, a lot of this program's in the right direction. And hey, it's kind of like Iowa football, where, yes, you hate losing to that school, but at the time for football, Iowa State was nationally ranked and you lost by 3, and very similar with basketball. I mean, Iowa State's ranked 4th in the country. They just went to Mackey and pantsed the Boilermakers by 23. I think a lot of Iowa fans are okay this morning and happy and excited about where this thing's going. Ben McCollum would have none of that. There's no moral victories when it comes to that head coach, is there?
No, he's not taking the bait on the officiating stuff either. Chad Leistikow asked him about a couple of the calls, and just he doesn't do that. He doesn't. I will say this, and I said this. I said this the Maryland game, and I said this last night. The previous Iowa coach probably would have saw the end of that game from the locker room. He probably would have. Last night for sure, 100%. He would have gotten teed up. And not that I'm encouraging Ben to go, Francano or anything like that, but he may have to put his foot. Maybe I wonder if these officials are just kind of, hey, you're the new guy. You're going to have to earn call. And I hate that.
Yeah.
I do. I'm like, just call the game. If it's a foul, it's a foul. It shouldn't matter that if Tom Izzo or Matt Painter or Buzz Williams or whoever it is that you've worked with for 15, 20, 25 years is on the sideline. A foul's a foul. And that's how you got to call it.
It's funny, Tom, because I think Fran did a good job of, and freedom of movement was one of his big things. Is guys getting held off the basketball.
Oh, it's terrible. It was so terrible when Josh Dix would get mugged, and Price and Peyton, especially Peyton last year.
But it's not a bad thing for Fran to go and mention that in the post game and make it an issue for the future.
Then he wouldn't like mention it. He would always say, "I can't say anything."
But
without saying anything, he would say anything.
Yeah, he'd say, "I can't mention it or I get fouled," letting people know that it was wrong. And then he'd also say, like, "Hey, you were there. What'd you think? What'd you see?" Yeah, okay. And then somebody would say, like, I mean, it seems like they were getting held a lot. Okay. Like he knew what to do, but I'm saying he was working for the next game. He's doing what he needs, and I'm not saying Ben's not, but unfortunately that's the way. Hey, as a great 8th grade basketball coach like I am, I'm working for that next call. I'm not working for the one that we just missed. I'm working for the next one, and I think Ben knows what he's doing, obviously, but there's a little something to that as well. Before I let you go, can we talk about There's some Iowa fans that loved what the Iowa State coach did. What's his name? Jimmy Rogers. What he did. There's others that can't stand it.
You know who he's not? He's not Mr. Rogers. That's for sure.
Yeah, with that, obviously, coach using a expletive to
An F bomb.
to talk about beating the Hawkeyes. Your thoughts on that?
Coaches should follow the WWKFD.
Ooh.
What would KF do?
Is there a bracelet like that?
There should be.
Go on.
There should be. What would one of the classier coaches in the game of college football do? Would he wander out onto the court and let an F-bomb fly about the Cyclones? There's a 0% chance that would happen. 0. He might say something, okay, let's go and let's beat the clones. Let's beat the Cyclones. And get people fired up. But that's it's, and I'll get probably blasted by Iowa State folk, but won't be the first time. And I'm just, I don't know. If your focus is to do chants when your team's on a run and your chant that you're doing when your team's on a 16-0 run is F the Hawks and not let's go Clones, let's go Cyclones. What are you doing? Your focus is like we're going to chant towards F the Hawks.
Yeah.
That's your student section. And I know Iowa student section, sometimes there's rando folks doing some goofy stuff, and I'm sure people can pull it up and social media, and they'll say, well, look at this. Well, look at this. Totally understand that. But this was like the whole student section doing these. And they were on a 16-0 run, and their whole focus is into a timeout. F the Hawks. It's weird.
It's funny.
It's odd.
I expected him to say. Jake Brendan was on the show earlier this week, or maybe even Keith Murphy.
Yeah, I expected him to say. I expected
something.
him to say something. Yeah, say something. Let's beat the heck out of the Hawks, or
Yeah.
you could even say, let's beat the hell out of the Hawks. That's whatever. You don't need to go. You don't need to work blue, as they would say in the comedy sense.
Well, even it reminded me of a little WWE promo where,
but it's
I had to do that with the great Mick Moninghoff. Like, it's hard to do sometimes. So something like that.
Friday.
I'm just saying. I don't even know if Mick was the one before me, but we'll move on. Anyways, it's what it is. I don't think it's outstanding, but I didn't have any that big of issues with it. The biggest issue I would have is you're at a college basketball game, they're hearing it anyways, and that's the same thing at the NFL.
Anyway, the whole student section was chanting it all night. That was their focus, was to
if Iowa had a head coach do that, let's say Kirk retires and Iowa has one come in, and let's not say if they would have, let's say they did it. Would they? My question isn't the F-bomb or no. Let's go beat the Cyclones. Let's go beat the Cyclones. Let's go win the Big Ten, or let's go beat Michigan, or let's go get the Buckeyes or whatever. I don't think their focus would be on the non-conference state rival that some people shouldn't be playing any football in anyways.
It might be more about Nebraska or something.
Yeah, who knows? But anyways, Tommy, good game for Iowa. You can check out all Tom's stuff on HawkeyeReport.com. On HawkeyeReport.com. Get that. How's the back?
Yeah, not great.
On that note, we'll let you go. See you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
All right.
That is Tom Kakert here on Off the Air on a Friday. We're going to be back at Rock Island Fieldhouse after the break. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a minute.
Give me the keys. Learning to drive can be stressful. for Relax. There's an easy way to avoid the stress. Skiles Driving School in East Moline has been helping new drivers hit the road with confidence for over 20 years. Whether you're a teen earning your first license or an adult looking for behind-the-wheel training, we've got you covered. Their certified instructors are patient, experienced, and use modern vehicles equipped for safety and comfort. From classroom instruction to real-world driving, we make learning safe, affordable, and even fun. Call 309-278-0098 or visit skylesdriving.com. Skiles Driving School. Get in, buckle up, drive your future forward.
Are you looking to take your next party, tailgate, or golf outing to the next level? You need Mobile Party Experience. MPX features 3 top-of-the-line party trailers equipped with all the amenities you need to party like a rock star. Smart TVs, Yeti coolers, JBL sound systems, grills, bathrooms, and much more. Mobile Party Experience is an experience like no other. Check out my-mpx.com or call 563-514-1470 and book your Mobile Party Experience today. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday in the Quad Cities live at the Rock Garden. Some people call it the Rock Garden. Can you call it the Rock Garden? I've been told it's not the Rock Garden. I've been told it is the Rock Garden.
I always
Rock Island Fieldhouse.
Rock Island Fieldhouse.
Yes.
That was Bob Swanson always told me. It's the Rock Island Fieldhouse,
Yes.
not the Rock Island High School gym. It's
Yes.
the Rock Island Fieldhouse.
The Rock Island Fieldhouse, established back in 1959. Big game tonight. We figured we'd have fun. We had a blast during football season, going around to all the high schools on a Friday. We figured we'd start doing a little bit of the same when it comes to high school basketball as well. So we're here at the Fieldhouse talking about Rock Island and Moline. Big matchup in the Western Big Six. Full slate in the Western Big Six. Busy night in the MAC as well. So it's one of those busy Fridays in December before the holidays come. So we'll talk a little more basketball here in a second. But joined now by my good friend Bill Horrell, because earlier this week we received some news that I don't think anybody expected. Jim Albracht passing away on Tuesday at the young age of 74. And I really mean that. We had Jim on the show in late August, and I think when he got ready to do the show down in Kansas City, he just got done working out. And I saw him at Kinnick Stadium, I think for the Oregon game, and I was like, Jim, you look amazing. He's like, I feel really good. So like the last thing we expected to hear. So kind of wanted to have Bill stop by. You worked with him for a long time, been friends with him for a long time. Your thoughts when you hear the news on Tuesday?
It was shocking. It was sad. Jim, as I said this week earlier, Jim, if you met Jim, you liked Jim, and Jim liked you. He was always positive, and always had a smile on his face. He was a great man. I first encountered him when I was working in radio in Macomb in 1996, and he was at WNFL in Green Bay, and that was the Super Bowl, the first time they'd won a Super Bowl in, 30 years, almost 30 years. And it just happened there were 2 Western Illinois Leathernecks on that team, and Frankie Winters and Don Beebe, that somehow we got hooked up and talked about those guys during the season. And, we kept in touch throughout. And luckily, in the early 2000s, I was able to go to work at WOC. Went over to the dark side, became a salesperson, but continued to do sports on the high school. And, Jim and I sold WOC, but just kind of gravitated. Pete Ivanek and Jim and I and Dan Kennedy would sit in the offices and talk sports under the pretense that we were in there talking about advertising.
Yeah, right.
Don't tell Mike Weindrich, our sales manager at the time. But, Jim was always great. And like I said, it was shocking when Pete Ivanek's the one that told me the news Tuesday morning, and we were both in disbelief.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking to hear. The silver lining is to listen to the stories about Jim Albracht, and I knew Jim enough to know that, yes, everyone's going to be sad, but they're going to have fun with Jim, because that was what Jim Albracht was all about. stories from Jim. And everybody saw the guy on TV and on radio and on doing the pregame for Iowa and steam wheelers, all the kind of things. It's the stories that you don't, but also what you saw is what you got when you saw Jim Albracht. That guy was genuinely who he was. What you saw on air is what you saw off the air as well.
And we would talk. Jim and I would talk after and go over. I did tapes of my play-by-play of high school, and he would not critique it, but would say, tweak this, tweak that, and would always make me. I have no doubt he made me a better play-by-play man, never as good as him, but made me a better radio play-by-play man. But what was great is the conversations we had. Yeah, we'd talk about sports, but we'd also talk about each other's families. We'd talk about what's going on in the world. He got to know you as a person, not only as a sports guy. And, the working in the media as long as you have, and, me full-time for almost 20 years and then another almost 10 doing sports, it's a tight-knit group, and especially the sports. And just the tributes I'm seeing on social media to Jim, it goes back to a couple of years ago or a year and a half ago when Steve Tappa died. Same type of thing that we may be competitors or we may be covering for different media outlets, but we're friends, and it is a close knit group, and everybody loved Jim.
Yeah,
I mean, I didn't meet a person, or if someone didn't like him, it was very rare. So, like I said, always positive. Always had that Chester cat smile, like he was up to something.
Yeah, he lit up a room when he came in, and you could be down on your day or whatever, and he would. And you mentioned it, and it's awesome to hear the story of like you were young in Macomb, because that was me. I mean, he was. I remember I went to spring training. I was working at WQAD, but I was young, and I went to spring training not with WQAD, just to visit some buddies. But I don't know how it got back to Jim that I was going to be out at spring training, and he's like, "Hey, would you want to come on Albracht in the AM and do some spring training reports?" And I was like, "Absolutely." So I remember doing those, and they were probably awful. It was probably him carrying the conversation like he always did. But he allowed that to happen. And then, throughout time, I would run into him here and there, and getting to do more with him. I got to do some MediaCom MC22 games with him. And I was like, it was a big deal to me.
Those were always fun.
Yes, and it was a big deal. He came in and breezed in. It was no big deal. One, I was new doing it. But two, this is Jim Albracht.
Yeah, exactly.
And like we would get done with the broadcast, and it would be a really good broadcast because of him. And I would look at it as like, man, that's the bar. And I got to not that I'm going to get to that bar, but like you could just see the difference between him and everybody else. I don't want to get into who's on the Mount Rushmore and all those kind of things. And it's the old sports talk topic, if you will. But if there is a Mount Rushmore for media people in the Quad Cities, Jim Albracht is on that list.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah,
I'm going to put him up there with TC.
Yeah, and not just sports. I'm just saying in general,
because their longevity and the way that they carried themselves while they're doing the job. But getting back to the stories about Jim, 2005, I'm broadcasting the girls' state finals in Redbird Arena when Alleman's playing Chicago Hope in the championship game. And I'm flying solo that night, no color commentator, and Jim's working as the TV sideline reporter. And Jim comes over during, first or second quarter of the game, and it's between his hits doing sideline reports, and he puts a headset on. I'm thinking he's just going to listen to me. No, he pulls the microphone down, turns up the volume on the microphone, and starts doing commentary on the game, and I'm thinking, what the hell's going on here? And I look over, and he's got that smile on his face again, and I'm thinking, yeah, Jim Albracht's my sidekick now. Yeah. And I'm thinking, this is great. But that was him, that he would do stuff like that and surprise you. And another one is you would walk down the back studio hallway at Clear Channel at Quad City Radio Group, and there's a talk studio for WOC, and there's chairs in there, microphones much like this. Dan Kennedy sitting down, Jim standing up the whole show. He was that type of energy during the show that you'd walk through there, and probably a handful of times I saw Jim sitting down broadcasting. He was always, but he put his heart into everything that he did on the air.
What I loved about Jim is that he never took himself too seriously.
No.
Maybe serious at all. And I've had Jim Albracht was very, very good to me. My mentors are Dan Burrich, Dan Pearson, because I worked more with them. I worked enough with Jim and formed enough of a relationship that's one thing that I learned from Jim Albracht, probably the Wild Man as well, is that, like, don't take it's fun. It's live TV. It's live radio. There's going to be messed up.
You're entertaining, yes.
And that's what I learned from him is every time, and that was just when it came to a broadcast, but in life in general. He walked into a room and it was like, Jim's here. Like, did you ever? I never did. I didn't interact with him nearly as much as you did. Was he ever in a bad mood?
Not in public around whenever I was seeing him. And you'd see him out at different things, like where you're at, or he'd be in different places doing the pregame show for the Hawkeye Network. He would always be, and I used to live in Bettendorf, and he would do some road games at Hy-Vees, and he would be at one of the Hy-Vees in Bettendorf. And I'd just stop by and sit down and talk to him and mention you by name that you're there, but he's always smiling. Even if there wasn't, he knew how to work to entertain the crowd, even if there wasn't a crowd there. He could use one of these microphones because he knew he was speaking to the masses when he had that microphone in front of him. Yeah, we did, and obviously I was lucky enough to, and that's one of the reasons why when I got the opportunity with the Hawkeye Radio Network was I jumped on it, was because he put that together. I remember going up to so many Iowa games, covering them, running up and down, listening to. He talked about it. We had him on the show late August, and I thought it'd be fun to have him on. I mean, it was a blast. It was, and he's like, we didn't know what we were doing when we started it. We just said, okay, let's go, let's do it. And and you know it too. You mentioned Dan Kennedy and yourself, and Pete Ivanek and him, and that kind of hanging out at the desk talking. That's old school newsrooms. I don't know if they're like that anymore. And Mark Minnick would get in on it too,
But and I don't know if the workplaces are like that anymore, but that was the fun corner, was the sports corner. The fun office was the sports office. And it wasn't just because we're watching TV and watching sports. For him, it was because his personality brought you in.
Oh, yeah. And you knew you could go in and talk to him, and you could have fun, and it would be something that he would never push you off saying, I'm too busy to talk to you. It would always be one of those that, he would always talk to you. And, I used to umpire softball, 30B. This is what happened. But the sports, and then talking life, and then talking, I wish we could get back to having hosts like him on radio, because you didn't know if Jim was a Republican, Democrat, whatever. He just talked about the issues. He would make fun of people on both sides of the aisle. He would praise people on both sides of the aisle. He would just get the stuff out there. And that was part of his charm, is that, he was an everyman talking about things like this.
Yeah.
But he was very talented at being that everyman and telling the stories and interviewing people. His interviewing skills were amazing.
Yeah. No, he did an amazing job. His play-by-play was great. Everything that Jim did, really, really special as well. Bill, why we got you here, you're out in Geneseo. Yeah. Doing a podcast with Geneseo with the schools as well. Yeah. Good times in Geneseo right now. You got the football team doing what they're doing. The basketball team just went down to Quincy and won for the boys. They're still putting up with Scott Herdison for some reason. I don't know why. I know I love Scotty. But kind of talk about that. It's been a fun way to, I think everybody's trying to do. We're evolving when it comes to the world of media and enjoying it all at the same time.
Yeah, I got out of radio full-time in 2010 and still did sports to 2017. And Joe Nichols, who's the athletic director out there, is from Macomb too, and he goes, I have a job for you. And so I would help in game management, do PA at the wrestling tournament, things like that. And then about a year and a half ago, I get a text from Joe saying, we're thinking about doing a podcast. You in? And without even thinking about it, and probably against my better judgment, I said, sure. And he and Dalkin de Moranville from The Current and Garrett from the Current. I record interviews every Sunday. You go to your garage upstairs. I go to my basement on Sunday mornings with a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
I don't have a camera on me, thank God. Thank God for that. And I do interviews with coaches every Sunday morning, and it comes out on Tuesday afternoons, and the community's really bought into it. But getting back to what you were asking, the football season was amazing, and I stand on the sideline almost every Friday night, and I knew there was something special at the start of the season, and it was when they played UT, and I look over and Wayne Strader's over there, Mr. Green Machine, All-American from '76, the first state championship team.
We had him on the show when we were out there. He's a treasure.
Yeah, and he's fired up. And it just, you watched it build and build and build in the community. They had a great senior class, but they have some good classes coming up behind them. And it's, as an outsider, I'm a sports junkie. I remember that '76 game, watching it on TV in Wayne Street. It was freezing against Metamora. For some reason, I remember it's the sports guy mentality, I guess. But I remember that, and that was fun just to talk to Wayne, and having him call me by name now every time he sees me. But the basketball, TJ Lacey's doing a great job bringing energy to the program. Baseball, Kyle Bess is going into his second year. Softball will always be, Jenny Johnson is now going to be the head coach. Bob Pettit's taken a little step back. But track teams, cross country. I've learned more about cross country this year and last year. Todd Ehlert, 6 straight state finals.
Yeah.
The girls team. It's just the athletic department, but they're kind of in that middle with 700 and some students. Are we 2A? Are we 3A? Are we 4A in football? Are we 3A in football? Besides Alleman, they're the smallest school in the Western Big Six. So but they're holding their own. And wrestling, Tom Rusk is
pretty good.
We have 2 Hall of Fame coaches that he's filling. They're coming in after with Coach Kakert and John Murray, and they have a great feeder program. The community buys into it. That's just it's great. And get a plug in. I got the little thing in. If you want to see some great wrestling the second weekend of January, go to Geneseo High School and watch the Geneseo Invitational. That is one of the finest wrestling tournaments in the state of Illinois.
Give a plug for the podcast, too.
It is the Maple Leaf Coaches Corner. Go to Geneseo Current online or Geneseo Current on Facebook. It gets posted about 5 o'clock every Tuesday afternoon. Right now we're doing season we got pushed back a little bit because football went so long. So we're doing season previews 2 weeks, 3 weeks into the winter sports season. But like I said, probably we'll hit it strong right before Christmas, and then January, February, and March we'll have every week winter sports. Like I said, it's half hour to 45 minutes every day. You don't have to listen to it all at once. You don't have to look at my face. You can hear me. You can hear the coaches talking about the kids, and that's the main thing. And that's what high school sports is all about, is highlighting the student athletes, and I like to emphasize the student part of it.
Notice that you went through all the sports and you didn't mention girls basketball. Going back to my point,
sorry, Scott.
Scott Hardison.
Sorry,
is
Scott. He will kill me about that. No, but Scott's always a great interview. And Scott has an insight. As the girls golf coach,
Scott always has an insight. Some call it an opinion. But
I interviewed Scott a couple weeks ago, and Scott has coached about every sport at that high school. He's been a tennis assistant coach. He's been a softball assistant coach. He's been, I don't know if he's coached volleyball, but he's coached basketball, golf, track. I don't think he can run track because I don't think.
Why is that?
I don't.
Why is that?
I don't think Scott could do that.
Bill?
I don't think Scott could do. He'd look like a distance runner running 100 meters. But
Shot
I
put.
shouldn't be saying that.
Shot put.
Yeah, he can do that.
Discus.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll get you off the hook.
But he's coached. But he gets it too, and he's always fun to interview because he's very upfront. The coaches, I cannot say enough about the coaches. I think there was a little bit of hesitance that you're going to talk to us about every week, but they've bought into it, and they love to promote their programs.
Absolutely.
And in the day and age of where, every high school used to have their own broadcast someplace, especially in the small towns. Ken and his crew at QC Sportsnet's doing a great job covering the Quad Cities, but Geneseo doesn't have a full-time broadcast, with the exception of football and the TV 50, which is on the small low-power FM station out of Geneseo. But being able to bring this to people, the podcasts are great because it, you don't have to be listening when it's on. You can go back and click on it. So
what I always tell people is I get the complaints of, newspapers not around, radio's not around, things are different, coverage-wise are different. Yes, but they're evolving, and they're different in different ways when it comes to podcasts.
Yes, definitely.
To different ways of doing things. While we're at Rock Island, before I let you go, do you have your best Duncan Reed story? I have one. I'll give one. I'll give my best. You give your best. And
there's
mine will be
there's a
edgy. So
there is no love lost between Rock Island and Moline. I will tell you that. I used to go to and this was after Duncan had retired as the head coach. I'm gonna give you two real quick ones, but the first one is I'm at the Bank Board Club, which is the kind of the booster club Friday afternoon lunch that the coaches speak, and Tom Siegel was the coach then, so Duncan's sitting back by us, and it just happened to be Rocky Moline week, and Duncan was adamant about how much he hated Moline. And he goes, if I die in East Moline, take me to the other side of the river and bring me around Moline, because I don't want to even go through Moline. So I'm thinking, I'm just laughing. And I think Dave Rath is sitting with us, the legendary SID at Augustana. So I'm laughing, and that really struck home. And then, we have the Iowa-Illinois shootout coming up. And, the Reed family's huge. And Duncan was still coaching, I think, at Rocky at the time. This is 20 years ago plus, that we had a hospitality room, and we had a Hy-Vee catered. It's not like pizza and all this. And I look up, and Duncan's waving his whole it's like they had a Christmas dinner in our hospitality room. But nobody said anything because it's Duncan Reed. But you know what? Duncan, I was lucky enough that Duncan liked me, and if he liked you, there was nothing in the world he wouldn't do for you.
There was always the explanation about Duncan. Duncan was Duncan. I always heard Duncan was Duncan. Duncan is Duncan. I gave you one during a commercial break. I won't say that one on. This one is a little interesting as well. We were doing Hoop Central at WQAD. Yeah. We merged things as the Score instead of having the Blitz and Hoop Central. And I was doing the show on Fridays by myself. And so I came up with the idea, let's have a guest host every single week. We had different ones from, I'm trying to think, Don Sharp came and did it, which was great.
Another legend in Rock Island.
I think Johnny Marks. There was other people that came in, obviously. And then I'm like, let's do Duncan Reed. And so I was super excited. I remember going to a basketball game that night and another coach saying to me, are you going to have Duncan Reed on television tonight? I said, yeah. And they go, live TV.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah. And they're like, why? And he's like, good luck. And I remember I met with him in the week of, I'm getting into the weeds a little bit. I met he was working at the bank. Yeah. And I said, hey, Duncan, it's live TV, so you got to make sure you watch your language. He's like, oh, I found God. I don't bleep and cuss anymore. And I'm like, anyway, so I was like, well, we'll see how this goes. So that's some people, I had him do a script, do a game or whatever. For Duncan, it was I just want you to just be Duncan. Just chime in whenever you want. I'll carry the load. And I said, the one thing I need you to, and he did. There was a Galesburg kid I remember who shot a 3, and he had long hair. Yeah. And Duncan right on cue was he cut his hair if he was on my program. That wouldn't fly with my program. So he was great, hopping in here and there. And I said, when we go to break, if you can thank my fiance. So this is 2000. I can almost, because by 2006, 2007, it's if you can thank my fiance for doing the scores. She came in. She used to like me back then, and now can't stand me now. But she's like, "Can you go ahead?" And I'm like, "Just thank her." Okay. So we got close to, and he's like, "How will I know?" I'm like, "You'll know." So we got to that point, and I made it obvious that it was. And he goes, "Oh wait, where's Jennifer?" And Jen, my wife's over off the side. And he goes, "Jennifer, come here." She's like, "Nope." Jennifer, come here. He's like, "Nope." He stands up on live TV, goes off set, gets her. brings her back up on camera and says, "This is Matt's fiance, Jennifer, and we're both really happy he finally decided to start seeing girls." I just looked at him. I go, "We'll be right back."
So
And the best part is afterwards he slapped me on the leg as hard as he can. He goes, "You know what I did there, don't you?" I said, Yes, Duncan, I know what you did."
So having him, the worrying about him using offensive language, that kind of prepared you for when you have anger on here.
Well, that's true. That's true. See, like if Duncan was around during YouTube, he would have been a sensation.
Oh yeah,
like it would, like it would have been wonderful. So, Bill, I appreciate you coming by.
No problem.
Doing this.
Glad you asked me.
I wanted to continue. I know that John Marks will be on Monday, and we'll talk more about Jim Albracht then. But something I wanted to kind of try to do every single day. Mark Nessler, we talked about him yesterday as well, but he deserves any and all love that comes his way. Jim Albracht, rest in peace, all that good stuff as well. Billy, thanks for being by.
Thank you.
All right, we got much more to get to. The head coach of the Rock Island Rocks, Mark Polite, will be here right after this.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. There's a Randazzo kid in every commercial I think I have. Back here at Rocky, at the Rock Island Fieldhouse, Rock Island High School. There's a little basketball game I hear tonight between Rock Island and Moline. I don't know if anybody's heard of the rivalry, but the head coach of the Rock Island Rocks, Mark Polite, joined me now about it. It's Moline Rocky week. What's that week like? I know you had a game earlier the week, so I guess the whole week's not focused on that. But what have the last couple of days been like with your kids and focusing and all those kind of things?
Well, it's really just about focusing on the process. You know, I'm a process type person, and I think you have to be. I think earlier on in my time here at Rock Island, you let the emotions get too high, then you swing with your emotions. And so we really have to learn how to settle our guys down a little bit. This is not a game that we have to get them up for. As a matter of fact, we almost got to calm them down some. Sure. And I thought maybe earlier in my time here at Rock Island, we haven't played as well because the guys are so jacked up and they're so excited that it doesn't always allow us to think as clearly as we need and execute as clearly as we need and all that stuff. So I've been really just trying my best to keep them focused and understanding what the game plan is and what it is that we're going to need to do to be able to come out and win.
You look at this before we talk about the game itself, this team, and you guys are off to a great start. I know expectations were high. We talked before the season. You embrace those because you want to have those expectations. What have you? Coaches are never happy. I always preference with coaches are never happy. What do you like about what you've seen so far?
Well, I think the good part about it is that they want to get better. The coachability is probably the biggest thing. That's one of the things that we try our best to demand from our guys, but sometimes you're pulling them uphill versus, them running in the direction that you want them to go. And so this group has been very spirited in understanding that, hey, we're not a finished product. although we've had some lopsided wins, there's a lot of gaps that we have to cover. And we know we have some big games on our schedule, and we need to make sure that we're fixing these things. A quote that I use all the time, they get sick of me saying it, but I tell them, I say, the best time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining, not when it's raining, because it's about to rain. And we're going to get tested, and we're going to figure out whether we're fortified enough to be able to withstand the elements that we're going to get dropped into.
We'll talk about tonight's game, and Moline comes to town, and obviously well-coached, all of those kind of things, good talent. We didn't know what the Western Big Six, we had an idea, we didn't know what it would look like, and almost we didn't really know what Moline would look like. They go to United Township last Friday night and get a victory. They haven't lost in the league play. What have you seen on tape from Moline, and maybe what do you expect coming up tonight?
Well, I think they're doing what we expected. They're a very system-oriented team, and so when you have a solid, strong system, you can replace pieces, and though maybe the production may not be as strong as it was in years past, there's still guys that are able to function at a high level. And then what happens is some of those responsibilities get shifted over to other guys and all that. And so what we're seeing on film is really what we thought we would see. I mean, they're a well-coached team. They're very fundamentally sound. They get the shots that they want. And then defensively, I mean, they've really just hunkered down and been a solid half-court man-to-man team. And that's tough to do, and it's tough to score against. And I think when they went over to UT, they did a very good job of just kind of plugging a lot of the gaps that UT was trying to exploit, and made it tough for them to score. And you look at the score of that game, you could see it was a really low-scoring game. It was really played at Moline's pace, and I think this year they're going to try and play a much slower style of basketball than they had in years past, and I think that's what they're going to have to do to be successful.
You look at Rock Island and your team, and you got guys scoring more points than were scored in that entire game last week. You obviously want to get out and go. You don't want to force that, though. How do you push the pace without playing out of control, if that makes any sense?
Well, our philosophy has always been like, we'll take what the defense gives us, and I think each game and each matchup kind of dictates the tempo. We want our guys to be aggressive, without a shadow of a doubt, but also we want to be intelligent, and we'll take shots. And I also say, like, if it's flowing and it's going, we're not going to plug it. We're gonna keep pushing it, and if we go through some dry spells, then we'll back it back out and slow it down. But and I think that's kind of how we've been, is just attacking with intelligence and understanding where our advantages are. I think when you go that route, the play of the game kind of dictates the tempo a lot. And so that's why I always try our best to get our guys to understand that we can play at different speeds. Probably didn't see it, but on Tuesday, we didn't press much on Tuesday. We played basically half-court defense the entire time, whereas everyone's like, well, they press and they press and they press. But no, like, we want to be I build my defense backwards, meaning that we want to be great in the half court and then extend it out.
Sure.
A lot of pressure teams want to press full court when they're not solid in the half court.
And they don't want to play. Yeah, they don't want to play in the half court.
Exactly. And so when you build it that way, it's just an extension of what you're already doing. It's just our pickup points are a little bit further away from the basket.
It's a reunion, or the first time being played, and it's high school basketball. Sure. What it is. Arthur Abbey coming over from Moline. Do you pull him aside this week and say, hey, don't let the emotions of that team be, or is it just, hey, it's another basketball game?
Yeah, it's just, I think a lot of times the people that are around it think more of it than what it is. Sure. Kids in today's times are just very different maybe than they were when we were coming up and all that.
We're old.
And yeah, exactly. And Arthur is a well-rounded kid, and he's pretty level-headed. And I think there is going to be maybe a little bit of extra excitement to that, and maybe a little bit of uncertainty as far as how you're processing those emotions and all those things. But he's a gamer. He's been in a lot of games. He's played 2 years of varsity basketball. Yeah. Like, he's not I'm not too concerned about that. And again, it's not about him. It's about what we need to do to be successful. And he's just a piece in that puzzle, and he's going to have to play his role. And that's something that we demand of our guys. And he's happily stepped into a lot of those roles for us.
You've been over here for several years. It's a different gym. It's a different rivalry. And I go back to some of the Hardings in here and all these kind of, it's been, how do you, and you guys have been part of it, so they know it. Is it different? Is it different than like it just? I mean, I know it's hard to explain, but it's the vibe in the gym is different. What's it about this rivalry that makes this place? It's great every night, but it's just going to be different tonight.
Yeah, it's just a different energy, and I think a lot of it has to do with the rivalry. I mean, let's just be honest. You know, as you guys know, I mean, I played at UT, I coached at UT, and then I remember my first year coming over here as the Rock Island head coach and stepping into that game. I'm like, whoa, like, I tried to play it down, but I remember talking to one of our assistants, and I'm like, whoa, this is different than I thought. And sometimes you have an idea, but you don't. And I think a large part of it has to do with just the history of it all, and just great communities, very proud communities is probably a better word to say. And I know that there's some clashes within households. There's clashes within people at work. You know, they work with individuals that are Moline fans, that are Rock Island fans, and just all that that back and forth that happens this week. It's just another great rivalry, and I know, like I said, our community gets excited and gets up for these games, and we were expecting a packed house here tonight.
It's funny because you look at one way to get this rivalry going is just to talk, because I'll do it with Moline people and Rock Island people, which was the better state championship team, because you got like Chase and Randall, what they did here, and then obviously Moline, just those kind of things. I hear people arguing about, I got Jason and Brock going back and forth about that as well. It's just, it goes back. You mentioned history. It's 125 years of Rock Island basketball, and we had Devin Marshall on the show last week, did a fantastic job, and he's like, I remember growing up watching Amari and Nimmers, and I'm like, you are so young. It's true. I mean, and that's nothing against Amari, and he was fantastic, but I'm like, when you go back and like we're old, like we can go back. I mean, Pete was just here last week. Do you want to make sure that your kids? I think these type of celebration milestone years educate not just the public, and it's about celebrating them, but it reminds your own players that like this is what was I don't want to say given to you, but built for you. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. And we harp on that all the time, the importance of our history. We have a proud history. You walk in our gym and just look around. I always what I loved and always loved about Rock Island, I always say that your gym and your area around the gym tells your story. And when you walk into the field house, you can look around and you can see, you know, all of the years and and just all the years and all the things that have been accomplished. But with kids, a lot of times what I've learned through education is that many times they don't care. What they care about is right now. And so we have to educate them about the importance of the history, because when you understand the history, it makes it so much easier for you to get them to grab hold of what it means to be a Rock. And so we've done this in the past where we've brought in past athletes and past players to just talk to the guys about what it's like during that time. And sometimes you wonder if they're listening. I mean, let's just be real. We're talking about teenagers here, and not everybody was like I was, where you love that stuff when some kids are not. But I think just presenting them with the information allows them to be able to process and just understand. And even we can get 20% of the way, 30% of the way of them understanding the history of Rock Island basketball, I felt like we've done our job. But last week, though, I will tell you, though, Pete coming back was special.
Yeah.
They saw it in my face as well, because Pete and I have grown up playing against each other. We're the same class. And Pete, my mom is a Rock Island graduate. Pete's mom was friends with my mom as well. So there's a lot of history that we have between each other. And honestly, I had not seen him for it's been probably 10 to 15 years. And so seeing him walk down the stairs.
Did you guys roll the ball out and go out one more time?
No.
Come on now.
No. My knee hurt just thinking about that. But just seeing him walk down the steps, and he was there, and it's like he looked at, we just got a chance to shake up and give him a big hug, and our guys saw that, and they saw just the connection, of our history and all those things, and that's one thing that I always talk to them about, because I was around for a lot of those historic days of the Rock Island basketball program, and how honestly, like, I won't say scared, but somewhat intimidated we used to be coming into the field house to play, because they were so good, they were so well coached, they were so much more athletic than everybody, and all those things. And that was one of the traditions that we're trying to do, is just is to make the Fieldhouse a tough place to play. And one of the things that we kind of hang our hats on is the fact that we win here, and it's very difficult to be able to come in here and win. And for the last 2 years, we've really done a good job of defending our home floor. I think someone posted the graphic, and I forgot. It was, we're 34-1 the last 2 seasons.
Wow.
We went 17-0 last year.
You probably remember the one loss more than you
remember.
Yeah,
absolutely. I lost to Quincy here for the conference title. And so, we've done a good job of just protecting our home. And I think that's an important factor of building pride in the program is realizing. I think that's something that Quincy has always done a great job of. When you go to Quincy, everyone goes, "Oh, you're going to Quincy," and we wanted Rock Island to feel that way. Like, oh man, like we got to go to Rocky and play, and we know it's going to be tough, and we know it's going to be very difficult to be able to come out of there with a win. And so far, we're starting to build that in the right direction, and we just want to keep focusing on those things.
You mentioned it a little bit, but wanted to go back to your days, because if I would have told you walking off this court or walking in here that someday you would be the head of this, would you have thought I was crazy? Would you have been excited? Would you have been like, what would 17, 18-year-old Mark Polite think of what you're doing right now is?
I would have been excited, to be honest with you. I knew pretty early that I wanted to coach. When I was in high school, my high school basketball coach used to say that to me. He goes, "Man, you'd be a good coach. Like you need to think about it." And I went to college, and the coaches at Eastern Illinois used to say the same thing. And so as a aspiring coach, you're always surveying the land, and you're always trying to figure out like what level do you want to coach? Do I want to do college? Do I want to do high school? If so, where? And and just the affinity that I have to the Western Big Six, just my time being in this conference, there's nothing like it. I've coached all over the country. I've traveled. I've recruited kids when I was a college assistant, and just watching all the games. There's nothing like this conference. And I've seen guys that have coached in this league and then left, and they still see me, and it's just nothing like Friday nights in the Western Big Six. And so getting an opportunity to come back to a storied program like Rock Island, I'll share it. Like I still walk down that red floor hallway coming into the field house saying, wow, I still can't believe I'm here. Just all the things and all the twists and turns of my personal life and my own personal coaching journey. One of just the feelings and the emotions that still come back to me even now in year 5 is just being grateful. Grateful for this opportunity to be able to lead such a historic program. We're one of the flagships of this Rock Island community is the boys basketball program, and to get an opportunity to lead it, it's something that I'm really proud of, and I humbly try to do my best every day to make sure we represent it the right way.
I want to bring it back around before we're done to this year's team. Just the community in general. I talked to too many people, and they're like, this is a good team. This is really, like, you can see the excitement growing, and along with the excitement becomes the expectations and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, you embrace that. We've kind of talked about that a little bit before. How good can this Rock Island basketball team be?
Well, I think that's yet to be determined. I think every team has a ceiling. That ceiling is lifted and lowered based upon a lot of factors. Number one, obviously, is your overall pieces that you have and the talent that you have. I think we check a lot of those boxes as far as the talent component is concerned. The second thing is just their willingness to want to be great, not to be good, but to be great. And I've had talented teams that didn't necessarily want to be great, and they should have had a higher ceiling, but that's not something that I always get to decide as the head coach. You look at that 2011 state championship Rock Island team, the Moline team that won a state title. Not only were those guys talented, but they had a desire to improve, a desire to be great, and that's sometimes the ingredient that gets you over the hump. Because in the state of Illinois, there's a lot of teams like us. Like, we might be maybe considered a little special around here, but when you're talking about state and all that stuff, like the multiplication factor in there of all the teams in the state increases drastically. And so, that's a component as well. And I think that's still yet to be determined. I think we have some nice pieces, some guys that take it serious. But as the head coach, sometimes I'm like, man, guys, but it's a journey also. And you can't judge a full team, or you can't judge, the whole entire book, based upon one small chapter.
Yeah.
It's sometimes it's going to take us, getting our lip bloodied a little bit. Sometimes it's going to take us having a disappointing loss because our preparation was poor. We didn't take a team seriously, those type of things. And that's when you know what you have, because how they respond will tell you exactly what you need to know. And we haven't necessarily been tested yet this year. But like I said earlier, it's going to rain. And it's going to rain. And what is our roof made of? How fortified are we? How well do we dig into the details of what success looks like for us on a night in and night out basis? These are all things that I think are yet to be determined. But to answer your question, the ceiling is high. However, that ceiling can be lowered. And a lot of time it's lowered by just those decisions that they have to make every single day of committing themselves to the process to be great.
And I know you got to get going, and it's sneaking you out of work, but I got to ask you a few more because
I'm on lunch now. So
all right, good. So you look at. I wanted to ask you. You mentioned when you walked in, and it was your first Moline Rocky, and you were like, "Whoa, that coach," and you're not even that. I mean, let's go back to UT. What if I said, what's the biggest difference between Mark Polite as a coach when he first got it started to now? What's the biggest difference?
It's so funny. Coach Singleton's on staff here, and he always cracks jokes because he got me fresh out of, I was a college Division I assistant.
Oh, I remember you coming up.
And all that. And Coach Singleton was on those early teams of mine. And he goes, man, you guys just don't know. You guys get the calm Coach P. Back then I was a lot more high strung. I was
Why though? What mellowed you out? I guess?
Well, I think it's just a better understanding of what I was doing. It's the ability to recognize problems before they arrive, not being so reactionary, but planning, understanding what's important and what's not important, picking your battles, all of those things. Everything was a battle back then.
That's life.
Exactly. I was 29 years old, just had a lot of knowledge, but didn't necessarily have the management skills.
Sure.
Because when you're running a program, whether it's UT, Rock Island, it's more about management than it is about even the basketball stuff. It's managing people, it's managing players, it's managing parents, it's managing expectations, it's managing a lot. And if you can't communicate a clear, concise message about what we're doing and where we're going, what ends up happening is that you manage with a fire extinguisher instead of a fire plan.
Okay.
So what ends up happening is you spend all your time trying to do all this, and you're not thinking long term. And I felt like the younger version of me was trying to do that. But now, as I've aged,
gracefully,
yeah, right,
like fine wine.
But now that I've aged, honestly, we really have a comprehensive plan of where we want the program to be, where we're going. You can ask our kids the plan and they can communicate it. All of these things that we've built, we in our locker room, we have this thing called the pillars of our program, and that's what our program rests on. And so being more clear about those types of things. And I felt like early on in my years, it was really all about, trying to win games, but now we're trying to build a successful program, and a program is going to have consistent success, and that's obviously what we want.
It's funny when you say that. There'd be reporters or people that I work with at WQAD back on a Friday night when I was young. I was a crazy maniac, and then they would be like, man, you should have seen Dazzo back in the day. And I remember one of the biggest things for me was getting married and having kids. And I remember one Friday night I was mad. I came home, everything went horribly and everything, and I got home and here's my wife with my oldest, and she's like, he's been crying nonstop. Can you take him? And I sat down, I started rocking him. I looked down, I'm like, why do I care that I missed we didn't get the highlight we were supposed to get? So I think that in general, and it's basketball wise, but it's life in general. It puts things in perspective. When you said that, I was like, when you said you should have seen him back in the day, I'm like, that used to be me back in the day. I used to be the crazy maniac as well. So and I think you learn from those kind of things as well.
Because you want to do a good job. You think about it, and I think, a younger version of you, a younger version of me, you take these jobs thinking but you really don't know. You think you have it all, you've heard about it, you've read about it, but certain things you have to live. You have to live those experiences, you have to manage those emotions, those feelings of disappointment, those feelings like you're letting people down, and then being able to sift through all of those and then determine what's real. Because sometimes our emotions lie to us. And sometimes we feel like failures and we're really successes, and sometimes we feel like successes and we're really failures. So, a large part about it is just sifting through what's real, and then determining what your values are, and then trying to live out those on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Well, I probably kept you longer than you wanted to. We're just a bunch of old guys.
Yeah, I know, right?
Talking about like, get those two old guys out of here.
Right.
So, hey, good luck tonight.
Thank
Good
you.
luck the rest of the way. I enjoy this. I finally came to you. I'm always waiting you to hop on the computer.
Yeah.
So we'll talk much more throughout the season.
Thank you.
Thank you, my friend. We got more to get to. We'll wrap things up here at the Fieldhouse at Rock Island here right after this. We'll be right back. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Friday. We're going to wrap things up. It's been a fun week. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the shows. We've had Gary Dolphin on. We've had Keith Murphy on. We've had Nicholas Bear on. Of course, we're on the road here right now. We've had a really, really fun week of shows. Scott Doctorman was on this week as well. So go check out the week of shows that was. Of course, get your Nest guest picks in. We're running late this week. The link is up there and everything. So get your Nest guest picks in. You have until 11 a.m. on Sunday. So you got an extra day to get in. Thank you once again to Hungry Hobo for sponsoring that as well. And thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Rock Island for putting up with me today. Some internet issues were a little slower than what we liked, but you know what? We got the job done, and we've enjoyed being here. Thank you again to Bill Horrell for stopping by, Tom Kakert for joining us, Mike Amendorfer, and of course, Mark Polite for being on with us as well. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday, and I'd love to tell you what we have on Monday, but the world of sports is so crazy. Who knows what we'll be talking about on Monday, but we'll be here for you to do it like we do each and every weekday at 10 a.m. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys on Monday.